Close your eyes and let's drift back to the softest edge of time, where the universe exhales its last warm breath. You're floating now, weightless, surrounded by endless black. There are no stars above you, just the faint echo of what once was. It feels calm, but also unsettlingly empty, like walking into a room after everyone has left, and only the quiet hum of forgotten machines remains. And here's the cheeky reality check. You probably won't survive this cosmic finale, not even close. But don't worry, you're not supposed to. You're only here to listen. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me your location and local time in the comments. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You drift into a future so distant it makes today feel like a spark in a storm. In this far horizon, the universe is expanding, stretching like taffy, thinning out every particle until they're too far apart to touch. Stars burn for a while, yes, but their fuel isn't infinite. One by one, they exhaust themselves. You remember how stardust once whispered life into existence, but now it just scatters, cold and inert. Galaxies that once blazed with color now look like faint, tired ghosts. Heat death, they call it. Not because it's hot, but because all usable energy is gone. The universe has reached perfect thermal balance. Nothing more to give, nothing more to take. It's the ultimate stillness. Imagine standing in a room where every sound, every motion, every breath simply stops. You can't even hear your own thoughts because there's nothing to compare them to. That's the silence of heat death. A mainstream fact slips in. Scientists say this thermal equilibrium is the most likely fate for our universe, an ending where everything still technically exists, but nothing changes. It's almost funny. This endless dark isn't dramatic. It's just anticlimactic. No explosion, no grand finale. Just an infinite yawn. But then there's the fringe whisper. What if, even in that nothingness, quantum fluctuations occasionally flicker, like random sparks in an ocean of calm? Tiny, meaningless, but still there. Maybe a lonely particle pops in, then out, like a shy guest at a party that's long since ended. Some theorists even call this a cosmic ghost glow, a faint reminder that the universe never truly stays still. Scientists still argue whether true heat death is even possible, or if the fabric of reality might have hidden layers of complexity we can't yet see. Could dark energy slow? Could entropy reverse? Or are we just reading tea leaves in the void? You float there, unsure, feeling both curious and small. You picture a future trillions upon trillions of years away. Everything familiar is gone. Earth, the sun, even the great spiral arms of the Milky Way. Time is still ticking, but no one's around to hear it. And here's a soft joke. If there were an intergalactic Yelp review for the end of the universe, it would probably just say, too quiet, needs more stars, 2 out of 5. There's something oddly soothing about this stillness though. No chaos, no struggle, just the slow fading of everything. It's like the final deep breath after a long, messy day. The universe, in its last moment, finally rests. And you, listening here, can almost feel that calm creeping into your own thoughts, untangling the noise of your busy little human life. You wonder, will any trace of us survive? Maybe not, maybe yes, but it doesn't really matter, does it? In the end, the silence doesn't ask for your opinion. It just is, and isn't that strangely comforting? You drift onward, deeper into this slow unraveling of the cosmos. Remember that fading hush of heat death? before it fully claims the universe, there's a gentler, sadder step, the quiet ending of Starlight. You're floating in a time far beyond human calendars, when the last sparks of creation flicker out. No more newborn suns bursting with fire. No more stellar nurseries shaping light into life. Stars, like people, have lifespans. Some burn hot and fast, like blue giants, living only a few million years before collapsing. Others, like our modest sun, sip their fuel more slowly, lasting billions of years. But even the most frugal stars can't burn forever. Trillions of years pass, and one by one they wink out. What remains are fading embers, white dwarfs cooling into black dwarfs, glowing so faintly they're almost imaginary. Here's the mainstream fact. Astrophysicists believe the stelliferous era, the age of active star formation, will end long before the universe itself does. Right now, galaxies still collide, gas clouds still clump, and gravity still sparks new light. But eventually, the raw materials run out. Star factories shut down permanently. It's like a city where the power grid shuts off slowly, one block at a time, until only the street lamps in forgotten corners glow dimly. And then, nothing. But there's a quirky detail you didn't expect. The last stars to shine will likely be tiny red dwarfs, humble little fires barely larger than Jupiter. They burn so miserly that some might last up to 10 trillion years. 10 trillion. That's a timescale so absurd you could live and die a billion human lifetimes before they even start to dim. It's almost comical. The cosmic equivalent of the quiet old neighbor who outlives everyone else on the block. Scientists still argue whether this deep future will hold surprises. Could unknown physics trigger a second wave of starbirth? Or might new forms of energy allow flickers of light long after ordinary matter goes cold? No one really knows. You get the sense that even the smartest cosmologists are just squinting into the dark, hoping for a clue. You're floating past the last clusters of glowing red dwarfs now. They look lonely, scattered like breadcrumbs in an infinite void. And as you pass, you can't help but think of your own sky back home, the Milky Way smeared with stars. Someday, in this deep timeline, even that memory will dissolve. The galaxies will stretch so far apart that no one, if anyone still watching, will even see them. The night sky will go black. A soft little joke drifts in your mind. Imagine being the last astronomer in the universe, setting up your telescope and seeing nothing. Worst stargazing trip ever. And as you move forward in this quiet future, the thought creeps in. Without starlight, how do you even tell time? The rhythm of the cosmos, the rise and fall of stars, was how everything once kept track. Without it, the universe feels timeless, like a never-ending nap you can't quite wake from. You pause in that thought, feeling a mix of melancholy and relief. No new stars means no new worlds, no new chances for life. But it also means no more collisions, no more fiery deaths. It's a final exhale, a slow bow after the show is over. The starlight fades completely now. You look around and see only shadows of what once was. Black dwarfs cooling into invisible cinders, neutron stars long since silent, pulsars no longer spinning. And the darkness isn't threatening, it's just still, like the universe is gently tucking itself into bed. You remember the whisper about stardust, the same dust that once built planets and people. Now it drifts silently, purposeless, like forgotten confetti after a party. And in this endless quiet, you can't help but smile at the smallness of it all. Even the stars had their time, and they accepted their ending without complaint. You drift even further now, beyond the age of Starlight, into a universe ruled by shadows. Without fresh stars to anchor the sky, only the strangest, most patient giants remain. Black holes. These cosmic traps, these silent keepers of gravity, wait in the darkness like sleeping titans. You pass one, its event horizon glowing faintly with the eerie halo of trapped light. For a fleeting moment, you feel its pull, gentle yet absolute. A mainstream fact hums quietly in your ear. Black holes aren't eternal. You might have thought they were, these monstrous sinkholes of space-time. But even they have a shelf life. Stephen Hawking once revealed that black holes leak tiny amounts of energy. Hawking radiation. It's like they're sweating away their mass, atom by atom, over incomprehensible spans of time. And eventually, they vanish. No drama. Just a faint pop of energy, and they're gone. Here's a quirky detail to make you grin. The time it takes for a supermassive black hole to evaporate is so long, it makes the age of the universe right now look like a coffee break. Try wrapping your mind around this. If you wrote down the number of years it takes in ordinary notation, you'd run out of room on the page before you even finish the zeros. Scientists still argue whether Hawking radiation is the whole story. Some think black holes might leave behind tiny remnants, Planck-sized seeds that never disappear. Others whisper about information paradoxes, about lost data hiding in subtle patterns of radiation. The debates swirl like cosmic riddles with no satisfying punchline. You watch as eons pass in a blink. Black holes grow lonely, feasting on the last scraps of matter. Stars long gone no longer feed them. Galaxies drift apart so far they can't even see one another anymore. Slowly, the great black holes shrink. One loses a sliver of mass, then another. If you could speed up time like a movie on fast forward, you'd see them glowing faintly in their last moments, like cosmic fireflies before fading into pure radiation. You can't help but chuckle at the thought. Even the most terrifying monsters of the universe just fizzle out. No giant bang, no apocalyptic finale. Just pfft, gone. Kind of anticlimactic for something that once swallowed entire stars. The space around you feels quieter now, if that's even possible. Without black holes to anchor the remaining scraps of matter, everything seems loose, unbound. Imagine standing in the ruins of a city after the buildings have turned to dust. That's the feeling you get. Vast, empty, and weirdly peaceful. And yet, there's a lingering sense of mystery. Could black holes, in their final flickers, seed something new? Some physicists toy with the idea that a dying black hole could give birth to a tiny baby universe, tucked away beyond its own collapsing boundary. If that's true, then every black hole was a secret doorway all along. You'll never know for sure. You're just a quiet witness to their long goodbye. You drift past the last one now. It's enormous, a supermassive relic from the heart of a dead galaxy. It's almost poetic, watching it evaporate after waiting trillions of years. The final flicker of its hawking glow feels like the universe itself winking at you, as if to say, "See, even this had to end." A soft joke crosses your mind. If the universe had a retirement home, black holes would be the stubborn old residents who finally, after eons, decide to leave the party. And then, silence again, deeper than before. No stars, no galaxies, no black holes, just stray particles and the faint hiss of radiation. The universe is still there, technically, but it feels like a room after the last guest has closed the door behind them. You remember the warmth of starlight, the hum of galaxies, and for a moment, you feel a quiet pang of nostalgia for things you'll never see again. But then it softens into calm. Everything that could happen has already happened. Now, there's only rest. You float onward, deeper into this strange, stretched-out silence, without stars or black holes to guide you. Even the concept of before and after starts to blur. You try to count the moments, but they slip through your thoughts like water through open fingers. It's here, in this frozen emptiness, that time itself begins to lose meaning. You're used to thinking of time as a rhythm, aren't you? The sun rises, the earth spins, seasons shift. Even in the grander cosmos, stars are born, burn bright, and die. But now, there are no rhythms left. No events, no cycles, nothing to mark this versus that. Time, without change, is like a clock with no moving hands. You're still moving through it, technically, but it feels more like you're stuck in an endless pause. Here's the mainstream fact. Physicists say time is deeply linked to entropy, the measure of disorder. As the universe slides into maximum entropy, the most boring, most uniform state possible, the arrow of time no longer has direction. There's no more forward or backward, just a static sameness. You can't tell one moment from the next because they're all identical. But here's a fringe tidbit that might make you tilt your head. Some philosophers of physics argue that time might not even exist in any fundamental way. They claim it's just an illusion our minds create to make sense of change. If that's true, then here in this changeless void, time has simply revealed its true face. Nothing at all. Scientists still argue whether time is emergent or fundamental. Some say it's woven into the fabric of the universe like space itself, unshakable. Others insist it's more like a shadow, a side effect of things moving and interacting. No motion, no time. And right now, you're seeing what no time feels like. An endless, soft stillness that stretches beyond language. It's weirdly calming, without time pressing on you. There's no rush, no waiting, no too late. Imagine sitting in a room with no clocks, no windows, no sense of morning or night. At first, it might feel disorienting, but eventually, it's just quiet. That's where you are now. You catch yourself making a small joke in your mind. If you ever wanted to be forever on time, well, congratulations, you've made it. As you drift, you wonder what it would mean for memory in a place like this. Can you even remember anything if nothing changes? In a way, memory itself depends on contrast. You remember because one moment feels different from another. But if every moment is the same, memory becomes meaningless. You are just here, always. And then you realize something subtle but beautiful. Without time, there's also no aging, no decay, no too late. The universe isn't waiting for anything, it's just being. Maybe that's not sad at all. Maybe it's the ultimate form of rest. But there's an unresolved tension too. Because if time loses meaning here, what about the future beyond this? Could there be a future? Maybe deep, hidden laws of physics could still stir in this frozen sea. Maybe some tiny quantum fluctuation, one of those random little blips we whispered about earlier, could nudge reality into motion again. And just like that, you're reminded that even the experts can't agree. Some say this endless equilibrium is final. Others hint that deep beneath the stillness, the universe might still be pregnant with possibilities. No one knows. For now, though, you let go of the idea of before and after. You're just floating in an eternal now. The kind of now that stretches so long, it stops feeling like a moment at all. A soft laugh echoes in your thoughts. Imagine trying to schedule a meeting in this timeless place. What time works for you? All of them. The stillness wraps around you, heavy but not oppressive. Without time, there's no loss, no expectation. Just the infinite exhale of a universe that has forgotten what it was rushing toward. You linger in this timeless calm, but as you drift deeper, you notice even the faintest traces of structure begin to soften. The particles that once made up stars, planets, and even you, they're still here, scattered across the vast dark. But something whispers that they won't last forever. Even matter itself, the solid comfort of stuff, might have an expiration date. A mainstream fact gently surfaces: protons, the building blocks of atoms, might not be eternal. According to some theories in particle physics, they could eventually decay, transforming into lighter particles over absurdly long timescales. We're talking 1034 years or more. That's a number so big it might as well be forever to you, but not forever to the universe. If this is true, everything solid, mountains, burns, the very particles in your coffee mug, will eventually dissolve into a thin, meaningless mist of radiation. But here's the quirky twist. No one has actually seen a proton decay. We've been looking for decades, building giant underground detectors to catch even a single event, and so far, nothing. It's like waiting for paint to dry on a cosmic scale. Maybe protons are stable after all, or maybe they're just very, very patient. Scientists still argue whether proton decay is real, or if matter is, in fact, truly indestructible. Some grand unified theories predict it must happen. Others suggest that protons could last literally forever, outliving even black holes. The truth, still up for debate. You're left with the uneasy thought that the universe hasn't revealed all its secrets yet, even in its quietest moments. You imagine what it would look like if proton decay does happen. Slowly, over unimaginable ages, every atom you know would just give up. Nuclei would crumble. The electrons that once buzzed around them would drift away like lonely ghosts. Molecules would unbind. Solids would lose their solidity. Planets would fade like chalk lines in the rain. It's a strangely poetic kind of vanishing. No explosions, no violent tearing apart, just a gradual, inevitable thinning. One moment there's matter, the next, only the faint afterglow of its disappearance. It's like watching a sandcastle erode grain by grain until there's only smooth, empty beach. A soft joke nudges you. Imagine being the last surviving proton. Everyone else is gone, and you're just awkwardly hanging around in an empty universe. And yet, even this decay is comforting in its way. Matter has been so busy for so long, forming stars, planets, people, entire civilizations. Maybe it deserves a rest too. Maybe dissolving back into nothing is just another part of the universe's natural exhale. As you float through this scene, you notice there's almost nothing left with texture. Just occasional lonely particles passing by, each one a tiny remnant of something grand. But even they seem like they're holding on to their form out of habit, waiting for a decay that may or may not ever come. You remember the whisper of time losing meaning earlier, and now it folds into this realization. Without matter, what is left to even be? If protons dissolve, so does the memory of all structure, all shapes, all things. It's almost like the universe is forgetting itself, pixel by pixel. But perhaps it's not really forgetting. Perhaps it's simplifying, stripping down to its barest essence, free of complexity. No more stars, no more particles, no more stubborn bits of matter clinging to existence. Just pure, soft emptiness. And then, just as you start to sink into that thought, you remember that this might not be the final word. Maybe protons are stubborn. Maybe they're eternal little anchors holding matter together forever. You'll never really know. And somehow, that mystery feels comforting. For now, you just watch the universe in its long, slow fade, where even the most solid things eventually learn to let go. You drift further, past the soft unraveling of matter, and suddenly the calm begins to feel heavy. Not violent, not yet, but there's a quiet suggestion of gravity pulling everything inward. You sense a different possibility taking shape, a reversal. Instead of stretching into endless nothingness, what if the universe doesn't fade away, but instead folds back on itself? This is the whisper of the Big Crunch. A mainstream fact rises in the stillness. The universe has been expanding since the Big Bang, and it's still expanding now, faster even, thanks to dark energy. But for a long time, some cosmologists wondered if gravity might someday win the cosmic tug-of-war. Maybe the expansion would slow, stop, and then reverse. Galaxies would drift back together, colliding in catastrophic dances, until everything collapsed into a single, unimaginably dense point, a mirror image of the beginning. But here's the quirky twist that makes you smirk. If a big crunch did happen, it wouldn't just smush galaxies together like a cosmic car pileup. It would also compress time and space themselves. Imagine your entire life, every moment, crushed into an instant, folded like origami into the final heartbeat of the cosmos. It's almost absurd to picture, like trying to squeeze the ocean into a teacup. Scientists still argue whether the Big Crunch is even possible anymore. Current evidence suggests dark energy is pushing the universe apart faster and faster, making a collapse unlikely. But no one truly knows if dark energy is constant. What if it changes over time? What if it fades? What if someday it reverses its push and becomes a pull? Then the universe might start falling back inward like a slow-motion avalanche. You imagine what it would feel like. First, the far-off galaxies would stop receding. Then they'd inch back closer, and closer, and closer still. The night sky, instead of going black, would ignite with chaos. New collisions, new bursts of starlight as everything crashes together. It would be strangely beautiful, a final cosmic fireworks show before the end. But the beauty wouldn't last. As the collapse accelerates, space itself would curve inward. Temperatures would rise. Matter would be crushed tighter than ever before. And in the final moments, if you could even call them moments, everything would be drawn into one infinitely dense, hot speck. A universe dying the same way it was born. A soft little joke floats by. Imagine the universe as a tired accordion. It stretches out for a while, makes a little music, then folds back up, ready to play again. And here's where the thought gets even stranger. Some theorists suggest the Big Crunch might not be the end at all. Maybe that final collapse triggers another Big Bang. Maybe the universe is like a cosmic heartbeat. Expand, collapse, expand again, forever cycling through births and deaths. If that's true, then somewhere beyond this ending is another beginning, with new stars, new matter, maybe even new versions of you, or maybe not. Maybe the crunch is truly final, the last punctuation mark on a very long sentence. You can feel both possibilities tugging at you, hopeful and solemn at the same time. For now, You simply watch this imagined collapse. Galaxies, once lonely and distant, now rush toward each other like long-lost lovers. The empty void fills again with motion, but it's not the playful kind. It's urgent, inevitable, unstoppable. You can almost hear the low, deep hum of the universe folding in on itself, a sound too vast for ears to catch. And just before everything converges, you feel a strange calm. Because whether the crunch leads to rebirth or oblivion, it's still a return, a gathering of all things back into one. There's something quietly comforting about that thought, as if nothing was ever truly lost, just waiting to come home. But what if the universe doesn't gently fold back inward? What if, instead of collapsing into itself, it tears itself apart in the most dramatic way possible? You feel the quiet stillness around you start to stretch, not slowly, but relentlessly. This is the unsettling whisper of the Big Rip. A mainstream fact ripples through the darkness. The universe isn't just expanding, it's accelerating. Galaxies are moving away from each other faster and faster, driven by the strange, invisible force we call dark energy. Right now, it's a gentle nudge, only noticeable on the grandest scales. But if dark energy's strength ever increases, it won't stay gentle for long. Here's the quirky twist that makes your mind tilt. In a true Big Rip scenario, the expansion wouldn't just pull galaxies apart. It would keep going until it ripped apart everything. First, galaxy clusters would drift away. Then, galaxies themselves would shred into lonely stars. Stars would then be peeled away from their planetary systems. Planets? Gone. Atoms? Torn apart. Even the very fabric of space-time itself would be stretched to the breaking point. The universe wouldn't just fade, it would disintegrate, layer by layer, like a piece of silk unraveling into single threads. Scientists still argue whether the Big Rip is realistic. Some models say dark energy is constant, harmless in the very long run. Others suggest it might grow stronger over time, like a snowball rolling downhill. If that's the case, there's an actual doomsday clock ticking for the cosmos, a countdown to the moment when everything succumbs to the ultimate stretch. You try to imagine the timeline. At first, you wouldn't notice much. Trillions of years from now, galaxies would slip away beyond the cosmic horizon, leaving the sky dark and empty. Then, much later, stars would tear free from their orbits, wandering like lost fireflies. And closer to the end, mere minutes or seconds before the final rip, even molecules, atoms, and subatomic particles would unravel. There would be no thing left. Just an endless raw fabric of space pulled so thin it can't hold itself together. A soft little joke drifts into your thoughts. It's like the universe tried to put on pants that were 2 sizes too small, and the seams just couldn't take it anymore. You picture yourself standing in that last moment, if standing even makes sense. Everything you know, everything you are, would stretch thinner and thinner, until you can't tell where you end and the space around you begins. It wouldn't even hurt. It would just stop. Not with a bang, not with a sigh. Just a final clean snap. And yet, even here, there's mystery. Maybe the Big Rip would reveal something deeper, something hidden beneath the universe's skin. Maybe the tearing would expose dimensions or laws of physics we can't even imagine. Or maybe it would simply end with silence. No rebirth, no hidden meaning. Just an empty, frayed edge of reality. You let yourself drift in the idea, and oddly, it doesn't feel frightening. The rip is simply another way of letting go. The universe, after so long holding itself together, finally says, enough. As you float through this imagined future, you think back to the fading stars, the dying black holes, the dissolving matter. The Big Rip feels like their opposite. Not slow, but inevitable acceleration toward nothingness. It's a crescendo rather than a whisper. And then you realize, no matter which fate is real, heat, death, crunch, or rip, they all share the same softness in the end. The universe doesn't rage. It doesn't resent. It just follows its own quiet logic, like a story gently closing its final page. You float in the lingering echo of that tearing silence, but another possibility shimmers faintly at the edge of thought, one that doesn't wait for slow decay or even cosmic stretching. What if the universe ends instantly? No warning, no countdown, just a single random flicker that erases everything in the blink of an eye. This is the unsettling whisper of vacuum decay. A mainstream fact hums quietly through the void. Physicists believe the vacuum of space, the empty space around you, might not actually be the true lowest energy state of reality. It might just be a false vacuum, a precarious bubble that only pretends to be stable. And if that's true, a tiny quantum event could trigger a collapse to a true vacuum. Like tipping over a cosmic domino, one small fluctuation could create a bubble of new physics that expands at the speed of light, rewriting or erasing everything in its path. Here's the quirky, slightly dark twist. If it ever happens, you won't see it coming. The bubble would move so fast that one instant you're here, thinking your quiet human thoughts, and the next instant, you're not. No pain, no drama, no time to panic. The universe would simply swap its rules, and everything you know would dissolve before you could even say goodbye. Scientists still argue whether this is even possible, or if our vacuum is already the true stable state. Some particle physics models, especially those tied to the Higgs field, hint we might be metastable, like a ball balanced at the top of a very shallow hill. It could sit there for trillions of years. Or one tiny quantum nudge could send it rolling into a deeper valley, taking all of reality with it. You picture it in your mind. Somewhere, out of sight, a bubble of true vacuum pops into existence. It doesn't shine or roar, it just grows. And anything it touches, planets, stars, even the laws of physics themselves, cease to be. To anyone caught inside, it would be as though they had never existed at all. And the strangest part? There would be no one left to even know it happened. A soft, nervous little joke floats in. Well, at least if vacuum decay happens, you won't have to worry about Monday mornings anymore. As you drift with this thought, you realize how oddly liberating it is. There's no way to predict it, no way to stop it. If it's coming, it's already decided. And because it would be instant, there's no suffering, no slow unraveling. The universe just switches off, like a candle snuffed in the dark. And yet, there's a flicker of hope too. Maybe we really are stable. Maybe the vacuum of space is already the lowest, safest state it could be. Maybe the universe isn't a ticking time bomb after all. The fact that you're still here, thinking about it, suggests it hasn't happened yet, and might never happen at all. Still, the possibility lingers like a secret. One tiny quantum hiccup could end everything, anywhere, anytime. And strangely, instead of dread, you feel a strange calm settle over you. Because if the universe can end so quickly, without even a ripple of suffering, then maybe it's not so bad after all. You think back to all the other endings: heat death, fading stars, collapsing crunches, ripping space. Compared to those slow goodbyes, Vacuum decay is almost merciful. No loneliness, no endless waiting, just gone. And in that realization, you smile softly to yourself. The universe holds so many endings, and yet here you are, still here for now, floating in the quiet, savoring the simple fact that it hasn't ended yet. You drift through the hush of possibilities, through endings both slow and sudden, and a softer thought begins to glow in the darkness. Maybe the end isn't really the end. Maybe it's just the seed of something new. You feel a faint tremor of hope as you consider the possibility of rebirth from ruins. A mainstream fact stirs gently. Some cosmologists believe the universe might not be a one-time event. There's a theory called cosmic inflation, suggesting that our Big Bang could have been just one bubble in a vast multiverse, an endless froth of universes constantly budding into existence. If that's true, then the death of this universe might be nothing more than a transition, a handoff to another cosmos entirely. Here's the quirky, mind-bending twist. Even a collapsing black hole might secretly give birth to a baby universe. Imagine it. What looks like an end from the outside, a singularity devouring everything, could be a beginning on the inside, a new space-time budding into being. If that's the case, every black hole you passed earlier might have been a cosmic womb, nurturing realities you'll never see. Scientists still argue about this idea. Is the multiverse real, or just a mathematical convenience? Are new universes branching endlessly from the old, or is ours a solitary island in an infinite void? There's no evidence, only hints wrapped in equations. But the thought lingers like a soft echo. Endings can feel final only because you can't see what comes next. You imagine it now. After heat death, after proton decay, after every last structure dissolves into nothingness, maybe quantum fluctuations spark again. Maybe the silent void hiccups, just a tiny random fluctuation in an endless sea of calm. That fluctuation grows, ignites, inflates, and suddenly there's light again. Space-time unfurls. Matter forms. A new universe breathes its first quiet breath. A soft joke slips in, almost playful. Maybe the universe just gets bored every so often and hits reset, like someone restarting an old video game. And in that new universe, new stars, new galaxies, maybe even new beings wondering the same questions you're wondering now. They wouldn't know you. They wouldn't know this universe ever existed. But in some quiet, indirect way, your universe's ending made theirs possible. Like ashes feeding soil for a future forest. It's oddly comforting, isn't it? To think that even if everything you know fades, the story doesn't necessarily stop. It just changes chapters, slipping beyond your view. You're not the end of the line, just one ripple in an endless sea of creation and destruction. You remember the big crunch you imagined earlier, that cosmic accordion folding back in. If that's the real fate, it might trigger a brand new Big Bang. Expansion, collapse, expansion, collapse. Like the slow breathing of something impossibly vast. You picture it as a cosmic heartbeat, one universe pulsing into the next, forever. And suddenly, you don't feel so small, because even if you're gone, even if everything is gone, the story continues somewhere, somehow. And maybe, just maybe, the atoms that once made you will be recycled into a new reality, a different shape, a different sky, a different kind of you. It's a soft thought, like a lullaby. No matter how many times the universe ends, it might always have another dawn waiting in its wings. And now, after all these possibilities, slow fading, sudden collapse, tearing rips, quiet rebirths. You drift back to a gentler truth. You're already living in a universe that's closer to its twilight than its dawn. A mainstream fact settles softly. The universe is about 13.8 billion years old. That might sound young compared to the trillions of years you've been imagining, but it's already well past its most active, vibrant phase. Star formation has slowed. The cosmic microwave background, a faint glow left over from the Big Bang, has cooled to just 2.7 degrees above absolute zero. Even the night sky you know today isn't as bright as it once was. The fireworks of the early universe are long gone. Here's the quirky, humbling twist. If you looked up billions of years ago, the sky would have been dazzling beyond anything you can imagine now. Galaxies were closer, stars more densely packed. The universe was richer in drama and chaos. But you missed that era by a long stretch. By the time humans appeared, the party was already winding down. In a way, you're living in the afterglow of something far more spectacular. Scientists still argue about how far along we really are. Some say we're barely at the beginning of the universe's lifespan, that the true old age won't arrive for trillions of years. Others insist we're already deep into its middle chapters, past the prime of cosmic creation. Either way, the sky you know is not eternal. Someday, the galaxies you see will slip so far away, they'll vanish from view entirely, leaving future observers, if any, lost in a cold, starless dark. But here's the quiet beauty. You're alive in the rare moment when the universe is still illuminated. You still have starlight. You can still see the Milky Way stretched like silver dust across the night. You still live on a warm little planet orbiting a still lively star. Compared to the vast future you've traveled through in your mind tonight, this moment is impossibly brief and impossibly precious. A soft, almost amused thought surfaces. You're basically living in the cosmic equivalent of late afternoon. The sun hasn't set yet, but the shadows are a little longer, the air a little quieter. You let that sink in. This twilight era isn't sad. It's tender. The universe isn't young and frantic anymore. It's calmer now, more reflective, like someone who's lived long enough to slow down and appreciate the small things. And you're part of that moment. You, made of stardust from long-dead stars, thinking about endings while still bathed in light that traveled millions of years to reach you. It makes you realize how temporary everything is. Your breath, your thoughts, even your worries. But instead of fear, you feel a soft gratitude. Because despite all the cosmic doom scenarios, despite all the unfathomable futures, you are here, right now, in a universe that still has sunsets, music, and laughter. You're here in the middle of the story, not at its end. And so, as you float back from these distant visions, you feel lighter. The universe will end someday, in one way or another. But tonight, it hasn't. Tonight, the stars still shine. Now, let the final imagery soften into a slow, calming wind down. The universe, no matter how strange or inevitable its ending, feels so vast and so quiet when you step back. You see it now as a great tide, ebbing and flowing beyond your tiny lifetime. It doesn't rush. It doesn't fear. It just is. And in that stillness, there's a kind of peace you can hold in your chest. You don't need all the answers. You don't need to know which fate will come. All you need is this moment, this breath, this gentle awareness that you belong to something endlessly larger than yourself. So let that calm settle over you like the softest blanket, and rest easy in the twilight glow of a universe still alive with quiet beauty. Sweet dreams.